stream has died, and so we had to start up a second one here. But we should be going. I'll give everyone a few minutes here to jump in. Just started a second stream. Should be up now. All right, you guys there? Oh, good. The battle chemist, he sorted it out. Okay, we're looking good. Let's give folks just a couple minutes here, gentlemen, and we'll get back after it. Okay, Mr. Overton says that we are back online. I had to start a new stream. It just froze up on me. All right. Oh, goodness. Nothing but the best production around here. Let's, even Miss Pants is down here. Poor Miss Pants, Mrs. W, has been away for what's about 3 days or so. She's visiting her folks back in the Midwest. And Jack's out fighting fire, so it's just her and I, Miss Pants here, together. Now, Miss Pants is definitely Mrs. W's dog and pays very little attention to me. And finally, after 3 days, come on over, she gave up, sitting on the front porch waiting for her mother to come home. And now she hangs out down here with me in the at the elk camp. Okay, we still have our super chats. Thank you to Overton and Mr. Barr, I believe, today. Shout out to those guys. They saved them all for me. We have a member message from Hanky Mountain Garage, a member for 31 months. Goodness, we have to do a drop for that. Shout out to you, 31 months. Oliver Christopher is living off-grid in a camper. He himself commented on your review video yesterday saying your video inspired him to do that. Well, I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know anything about him. I just, maybe I was too hard on him. You guys asked me to do a video review. Now, this was seeing it for the very first time, and that was my initial impression. It's like, well, maybe it was because I was expecting something really monumental. I was seeing dudes all over my feed that were doing reviews of this and talking about it. I very intentionally did not look at it. I did not listen to it. And I just turned it on. Now, was I already biased? Maybe so. Because when I automatically assume when the whole world is gushing over something, that makes me suspicious. And when it's promoted all over and gets massive numbers, this is not sour grapes. I don't care about that. I'm well beyond that. But my experience on YouTube, when something is being spammed in front of, and everyone's talking about it, and it's all over the place, controlled opposition comes to mind. I don't know. I know how hard it is to get traction when you do good stuff. Sometimes things happen organic like this, but sometimes they're pushed. So I'm not accusing him of doing anything or anything like that. It was just my initial impression. You have today's live stream to change my mind. And if you change my mind, if you give me something that I didn't see or something that I missed, I will recant and see it from your perspective. But I can only speak to my initial thoughts, and that's what they were. I just don't have any faith in the system, gentlemen. I'm ahead of many people on this. Maybe this is fringe. Maybe to think all is lost. Maybe that's, you'd say, well, you've taken the black pill. I don't know that I've taken the black pill. This is just the reality. We have been living in a lie. The textbooks, what we were taught in school, do this and it'll work out. Do this, it'll work out. Go get a college degree. Go take out student loans. This was bad information. And let's not continue with the bad information anymore. Sometimes when you go on a journey, have you went down the wrong road, taken a wrong turn, and you're going and going, you've got an uneasy feeling, you're thinking, man, something's wrong about this. Something feels wrong about this. Is the smart thing just to say, well, let's just hammer down. Let's just keep on going. Let's just push that nagging, push the Holy Ghost, the urging of the Holy Spirit away, and just keep on going down because this is what we've always done, or this is what Dad told me, or whatever. No, you need to stop. You need to stop, and you need to admit the fact that maybe we've been on the wrong path, and look at the map and verify it. Look at the map, meaning think about it. Look around you. Look at what's going on and make a course direction. Yes, it sucks. It sucks to have to drive an hour or two out of your way and another hour and two just to get back on the road that you should have been on the whole time. That's where we're at, gentlemen. Oliver Anthony comments on your reaction video. Cody, I've spent many hours watching your older videos. It was part of what inspired me to sell my house, buy raw land, and start the off-grid life. And now here I am getting roasted by the man himself. I love the internet. Well, you know, I've said what I've said, you know, prove me otherwise. I mean, I just don't. If no one had said anything about the song, and if it hadn't have been like the big thing, yeah, I would have listened to it. It probably would have came across the feed, maybe tapped a foot. It would have been fine. You know, it's a catchy song. It's not a bad song. It's just that I don't understand the hype. I don't understand why. You know, I guess maybe it's frustrating for those of us that have been talking about this for a long time, been talking about getting out of the city, getting out of the, you know, getting out of the rat race, simplifying, getting yourself in a position where you have lots of flexibility. Don't tie yourself down to anything. Start getting rid of stuff. You know, all this stuff we've been talking about here. I don't know. I don't think Oliver and I have any beef whatsoever, to be honest. He's probably a super good dude. If we were to be able to hang out, I would enjoy being around him. I'm not so much criticizing him. You know, maybe I was. Maybe I was too harsh on it. I don't know. Maybe you just caught me in a bad mood. That happens. Shout out to Oliver for at least bringing people's awareness. Mr. Overton, shout out to you. We have a super chat. The meaning people claim to find despite the words of the song blows my mind. Why so emotional, people? Yeah, there's a lot of emotion about that, and it's not that deep. It's not that deep. I mean, and you know, how many people of the 50% of the folks that didn't like my take on that song are still voting for politicians that are on the flight list? And let's say that they're not on the flight list. Maybe you say, well, Republicans, they'll fix it. Well, do they have, what are they doing to make this public? What are they doing to bring people to justice that are sitting across the aisle from them? Is there any legislation? Has there been any traction? Has there been any movement? Has there been any momentum in that whatsoever? So you're going to come and get after me for being a black pillar when you are still participating in this system, and when they're not doing it. You know, they take your vote and they laugh at you. They take your campaign donation and they laugh at you. Where's the justice? What are they doing? The system doesn't work, beloved. It hasn't worked for a long time. We've been under the illusion that there even is a two-party system. It's a monoparty, and it's the elites and it's the rest of us. And complaining about them, whinging about them, what has that done for us? Rush Limbaugh whinged and complained about them for years. What's changed? Things are much worse than they've ever been. It's got to get to the point where the system, it's got to be scrapped. You know, some people believe it's got to be scrapped. What do I believe? I don't know. I just don't care. I'm not going to invest any more time or thought into it. I'm going to focus on getting myself physically fit, getting my family in the best position possible to be able to react to unforeseen things, and building a local friend network and being involved with the community where you can. Local elections, your local police, your local schools, those things are worth voting on. Those are things we can have some effect. But as far as Washington goes, I couldn't care less. Let the dead bury their dead. We have a new member, Mr. Deadbird564. Shout out to you. I'm waiting. It convinced me in the chat why I'm wrong, what I didn't see, and I'll, you know, I'm not so proud I won't take a look at it. I won't reconsider. I'm just not seeing it. Mr. Dave Goodrich, shout out to you. We have a super chat. Cody's having a bad month. The left turn on him, and now the other side. Well, that's not a bad month. What that tells you is that we're not adhering to any dogmas here. You know, you conservatives, bless you. I know you have the best of intentions, but tell me, what have you accomplished? What is your conservative party? What have they done? What have they conserved? They haven't conserved anything. Look at the degeneracy in schools. Look at the degeneracy in public libraries. Look at the degeneracy in our cities. Conservative, you know, a thinking man has got to look at that and look and see, oh, okay, the left, I don't like where they're going. Then you say, well, what's the other option? Well, the right. Well, the right, they're laughing at you as well. Some dudes go and make a coffee company. It's the Black Rifle Coffee effect. And how many of you dudes just automatically jump on? Oh man, we're gonna have that. That America and patriotism and AR-15s and Black Rifle. They're just farming you. You've been so lazy and so stupid, just assuming and not putting any work in. Oh, our guys are good. No, they're not good. The extreme right, there's grifters on the extreme right, just like there's grifters on the extreme left, but you don't seem to be able to see it. Just because a woman dresses up and buttons herself up and starts giving talking points that are on the right, you accept her open arms. You don't care about her background. You don't care about who's funding her or where she came from, or men. It doesn't make any difference. You just blindly accept it, still thinking that there's a two-party system. If we could just get our guys in there, we'll have it. That's the point I'm making, gentlemen, that they're both terrible. Stop operating in it. Stop supporting them. Stop putting any faith in them whatsoever. Let them do what they do. They don't represent you. They represent themselves and their own special interests. And going on and say a song is going to change everything because it's pointing out the things that we've all known for a long time. I don't see the impact. I don't know where it's coming from. It's just people up in their feels. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's exactly what I want. You say that like that. I don't know. Maybe you're saying that it's not bad, but I'm having a bad month. The left turn on him, and now the right. No, that's not a bad month. That means that we're thinking. We're not collecting dogmas. We're not just being spoon-fed the corporate line. We're thinking. We're checking out. Go read Atlas Shrugged. Go read it. Get it on audiobook and read it. And you'll be amazed how prophetic that woman was. Shout out to Ayn Rand. Mr. Overton sums it up. Sounds like a good month. Yeah, it does sound like a good month. Sounds like a good month. I am not a conservative, beloved. I am not a Donald Trump fanboy. I am not a Republican Party fanboy. I'm an American. I want to see people do well. I want to see people to be able to live in freedom without being taken advantage of. And we've had it too easy. I think that's what it is. We've had it too easy for too long. And it's hard to rip the bandage off. But ultimately, I think that blessings are going to come from this. As I said, COVID showed us who the true blue people were in our life. That was a blessing. We can see it now with hindsight. The other blessing is, maybe free money, cheap money, unlimited supplies, 2-day Amazon deliveries, all those things that we've all gotten accustomed to. Maybe that was the worst thing that ever happened to us. Maybe that not having that, not being able, maybe prices getting more expensive, maybe that's going to force us to really look at what matters in life. And also where we're going to have to work together. We're not going to be able to be all Sigma males running around with body armor and thinking, oh, I'm going to defend my castle and I don't need anyone. And I'm an island in the stream here. I'm going to make this happen. I got my food supplies. You know what? I don't think that that's the way. I know it's not the way. And if this forces us to build communities, if it forces us to rely upon one another for our necessities, for our personal protection, then this ultimately might turn out to be a blessing. So let that old system go. Let it go. Let it die. And embrace the new system, whatever that's going to be. And I don't know. I can't tell you. All I can tell you is to make yourself prepared. Be as light and fast as possible. Fast attack is the future. Get yourself in physical condition, the best you can be, so that you can move on opportunities. Simplify your life as much as possible and start getting a friend group in your local community. That's what we can do. Mr. Stubby, shout out to Stubby, 7-month member. Stubby writes, if you believe someone else is responsible for all your troubles, then you must also believe they are capable of providing all of your happiness. Insanity. Artists shouldn't be involved in politics and just, or, musicians, just play your music and stay out of it. I disagree with that. Artists oftentimes are the canary in the coal mine. Like it or not, artistic people, creative people, they see things differently. They see the world differently. Often they see things before the rest of us see them. And they have an obligation to make these things, to bring these things to the forefront. And I don't blame Oliver for doing that. I'm just, the song was fine. Everything that he said is true. But Stubby summed it up, complaining. The complaining is what I take issue with. Oh, the reason why my life sucks is because of this dude over here. The reason why I can't do over this and that I'm selling my soul to a job. I mean, that's a very powerful statement. The song starts off, I'm selling the soul. You sold your soul. You applied for that job. You accepted the terms. You accepted the salary. And now you sold your soul. Did someone break your arm or twist your arm and put you in there and write your hand out and apply for this job? I'm just saying, blaming other people. I don't care. Everything he said is true. The politicians, a lot of them are corrupt. There's a lot of greedy, corrupt business people. Not all, but there are many greedy corporations. But how many of these corporations that are keeping you down, you're still buying from? You're still subscribed to Netflix. You're still watching that stuff. And then you come on and you want to criticize my take on the song. I mean, it's, if we were going to be, if we're going to be throwing out the label hypocrisy, let's go have a walk through your life. And let's see how you're adhering to America and America first, always, without compromise. The hypocrisy. But yeah, Stubby summed it up. Stubby is obviously an intelligent thinking person. I'm going to read it again. If you believe someone else is responsible for all your troubles, then you must also believe they are capable of providing all your happiness. It's insanity. It's exactly right. That is very, very well put. You think that they can cause your trouble? You think that they're the ones to blame? Then you think also that they have the power, you've given them in your mind the power of the ability to make you happy and content by giving you a handout. My mind has not been changed. And no offense to Oliver. But none of us are beyond reproach. I get roasted too. I got roasted in the comments. I got roasted in print media a couple weeks ago. That's part of it. We roast, we give, and we take. If you're not able to take it, then you shouldn't be able to give it. So it doesn't matter. We have Jezza 4300 is in the chat. Shout out to you, Jezza. I'm going to give it. I give my sound drops. I was supposed to have them laid out here for different criteria. I just do whatever feels good. I just go with that. Since we're all up on emotions today, then I'll be emotional as well. Jezza, thank you, brother. Very generous super chat. Jezza bought an XR650L on Friday. How stoked are you? That's Mr. Overton's bike. I'm very excited. I need the name of that Skookum Japanese helmet manufacturer and model, CD Boots, starting from square one here. What have you gotten me into? Well, yes, the motorcycle is actually only a fraction of the cost, especially when you buy a KTM, you figure if you want to get the good gear, you've double the cost of the bike. So it's actually triple. So if you're going to pay $10,000 for a motorcycle, you have another $10,000 in upgrades, and then you have another $10,000 in gear. So when everything is said and done, but when you figure saddlebags and upgrades, that's the way it is. But the nice thing about it is you can space this out over many years, like I did, right? So what you want, there's two things you don't want to compromise on, and the helmet of choice is going to be the Mr. Overton. If you could be so kind to drop in a link. I forget the exact name. It's the X something. Ari, A-R-A-I, is it? We'll have the model here for you. And the boot, now, unless if you have a big old wide manly foot, like if you're like a 13, 14, and you have wide feet, these boots are not for you because these are made for like a skinny Italian metrosexual type of guys. But if you're like that, like me, then and you wear a 12 normal width or under, then the CD Dominator that's your boot right there. That's the finest boot out there, in my opinion. If that doesn't work for you, I would look at the Alpine Star Tech 8 or Tech 10. Start with that. That's really, really where it's at. Also, I would upgrade my pegs. Fastway Moto pegs, stainless steel. Upgrade the pegs if they make. I don't know if they make them. I'm a KTM guy, so I don't know all this Honda stuff. But look and see. Get some oversized, some larger pegs, and put some proper handlebars on it, and rise those handlebars up there a little bit because it's too low. The handlebars too low. I might even put 1 inch, inch and a quarter risers on there. But start with that. Start with that. RE helmet and CD boots. I need the name of the Skookum Japanese helmet manufacturer, CD boots. Yep, starting from square one. Yep, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive. But, really, those two things will get you going. You can wear, get yourself a good pair of gloves and just start riding. Just enjoy it and ride it. But that helmet is where it's at. It really is. And I would also recommend you get a Sena. Get the Sena headset with the integral speakers and put that in there. That really makes driving very enjoyable, especially if you like to listen to podcasts or you like to listen to audiobooks when you're riding, like I do. Having that's pretty nice. And it connects with your phone, so you can take and answer calls. When your wife calls, you can activate Siri if you use an iPhone. You can send messages hands-free. It's very, very useful. And if you have another person that you ride with, well, it just changes everything. In the past, when you go together with a group, the war band would go on a ride. Every man's personal odyssey. You're confined in a helmet. Oftentimes you have earplugs, the goggles, all of that. You're really in your own headspace. But when you have the communications, the comms, and we were very fortunate to be able to do that when the middlemen came over, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You can talk to one another. You get to visit. You can warn of hazards. It enhances the ride so much. It's one of the greatest innovations in motorcycle technology in decades. We have a super chat from Listen to Behemoth. I don't know if it was cringe. I mean, it was nicely shot. Oliver looks like a good dude. He's a guy you'd like to hang out. He's a sensitive musician. He's getting his point across. I get that. I may have been too critical on him. I don't mean to criticize Oliver. If he's spreading the word, even if it's a little bit late and maybe not properly focused, in my opinion, he's not our enemy by any means whatsoever. Maybe I'm pushing back more on you guys who made such a big deal about it. Like that was like the ultimate red pill. That's awakening you to the problems. The problems, beloved, we've been talking about those for a long time, and we've been giving a lot of practical information, me and a lot of other people, about how to do this and how to survive the new economy. So it's not like, it's like, well, yeah, we know. But blaming politicians, we've moved on from that some time ago. We have no faith in that. No faith. We have a member message from Zachariah Bab. Shout out to you, Zachariah. Been a member with us for 4 months. Zachariah writes, have you read The Stand by Stephen King? Great book on the symbolism of the Holy Spirit versus society. Do you have a favorite fictional novel? Oh, no, I have not read that. I read one Stephen King book when I was younger. When I first started reading, when I was kicked out of the Christian cult, literature was discouraged. They wouldn't want you to learn. You had to be kept stupid so that you could be controlled by fear. So going to school, going to college, that was discouraged. And literature was certainly discouraged. So I didn't know about reading. There was no reading growing up in my home. So one of the very first novels that I read was Stephen King, It. I'd never read a scary book before. That was terrifying. That was the first and last Stephen King novel I've ever read because it was so Terrifying. That was super, super scary. I didn't know that a book could be so scary. I didn't like clowns before. I certainly don't like them now. So I never have went back and visited that. I'm not really interested in him, to be honest with you. I'm more, if I'm going to be reading a novel, I want something that's going to be historical fiction. Something, yes, a novel is like cotton candy. It doesn't nourish the mind. Typically, it doesn't nourish the soul. It can, but a lot of it is fun, and there's a place for that. Sometimes you just want to chill, man. Sometimes you want to come home, crack open a beer, turn on some reality TV. I get that, tune out. We all do that. We need to be able to just decompress. I get that. There's a place for that. But if I'm going to read fiction, I'm going to prefer to get something that, one, entertains me, but also gives me some insight or some knowledge that I didn't have before. So my favorite fictional series, I can give you 3 of them, and I would recommend you read all of them. Read all of them immediately. The first one would be the Horatio Hornblower series. It's fictional. It follows a young man rising up in his rank through the British Royal Navy during the Napoleonic War. Very, very well written. Brilliantly written, brilliantly researched. You will learn a tremendous amount from this. You will learn about history. You will learn about the trade of sailing and how things were done in the day, how fighting ships fought. Very, very interesting. You'll learn about geography. You'll learn about the ocean, and it's quite interesting. After that, I would read the Richard Sharp series on the same vein. And there's actually a BBC mini series that's quite good. Of course, it never compares to the novels, but the TV series was actually quite good. I like the casting of it, and it's worth a watch. It's pretty good if you want some good swashbuckling TV from the old school. But the Richard Sharp series, I would read those. Same principle. You have the Rifles Division in the British Army was kind of the special forces of the day during the Napoleonic Wars, and they were issued the very first rifled barrels. Now, before that, the big army just had smoothbore, and reliability was a little bit sus. Well, the rifles opened up a lot of different range, and it was kind of, they were figuring it out, and it follows along this young man that ultimately it was, his ranks and all his heroic deeds as he leads, he's in these rifles. Very, very good. Well written. Maybe a little bit trashier than the Horatio Hornblower series. Sometimes you get into some romantic episodes and that sort of thing, which I just skip through. I'm not interested in. And then the third one would be the Jack Aubrey series, The Master and Commander. So you saw the movie. You think no, the movie was trash. The books are brilliant. Absolutely very, very intelligently written. If you're a smart person and you like British humor and you like just clever turns of phrase, they're wonderful. Quite wonderful. And I would read all of them. They were quite excellent. But those three are my favorite. There it is. There's the helmet. It's the XD4. That's the one you want right there, the XD4. Now, you can save about $150 if you buy this in black, silver, white, or maybe frost black, because these are handmade, gentlemen. If you want to see an amazing documentary, go watch a documentary on the Ari Helmet Company. This is a family-run business. They're still handmade. 50% of professional racers wear Ari, and I'll let you go and watch the video they'll explain why. Handmade, incredible artisanship, incredible. But the ones with all the graphics on them, those are hand painted. And very meticulous, multicolor. So it takes days to paint these things. And you can save money by just getting that. If you live in a hot climate, buy a white helmet. It's going to reflect heat. It's not going to absorb it. If you live in a cold climate, get a black helmet. Or if you have a summer winter, that's what you do. Same with boots. If you ride down in Arizona, Southern California, white boots, light colored clothing. If you live where it's cold, or your winter gear, dark colored. You want it to absorb the heat. Makes a big difference. Makes a big difference. Shout out to Mr. Overton. Mr. Mike Scott. 1 year member. We have a super chat. Shout out to you, brother. Mr. Scott writes, imagine if everyone that's making a big deal over a meaningless song would instead put that effort into something meaningful like crochet. We could have sweaters for everyone. Think of it. Think of it. Now, I am very fond of crochet, as you know. It was actually my minor in college. My major, I mean, most of you know from back in the day, my alma mater, the Glasgow, Scotland, the Glasgow School, the Royal Academy of Interpretive Dance. That was my main study. My minor was in crochet. I used to make doilies. I used to make those little, I forget what they're called, the little food coverings, with the beads on them to keep the flies out that the sweet Amish ladies make and bring to the potluck. So I would agree. Yeah. Yeah, all that hand wringing. If all that hand wringing and pearl clutching were like if you could turn those hands into crocheting, just think of what would be possible. Everyone would be clothed and warm on the street. There would be no bums in cardboard. They would all be in crochet. Man, think of the possibilities. Absolutely. Mr. Scott, shout out to you. The Ginger Ninja. The Ginger Ninja. You don't understand that screw the politicians. All of them hasn't been mainstream since the 70s. That's what is abnormal about this PS. Watch the Warrior Poet Society take. He gets the point. Well, I don't know if I get your point. Maybe you have a good point. Okay, I don't understand. We'll start with that. Screw the politicians. All of them hasn't been mainstream. Hasn't been mainstream since the 70s. Not in earnest. No, not in earnest. There's been grumbling. There's been complaining. But then every 4 years, crank up the bread and circus, crank up the illusion, the electoral college, crank up the fact that we can get our guy in. Remember the hanging Chad? Remember there's always been some sort of skullduggery and there's always been a cloud of things, man, we'll get it this time. If we could just get Trump in there, we'll just be set. All the while, they're stealing from you and you're losing time. The Titanic is sinking and you're forming a bucket brigade, hoping that you're going to change and turn this ship around when it's over, gentlemen. The government is so top heavy. There are more people working in the government than there is in the private sector. That alone. Look at the debt, gentlemen. Look at the spending. Is the government saying, hey, we need to pull this back a little bit? Maybe we should not be policing the world. Maybe we should not have, 5 million military bases all over the country. Nope. Just hammer down. Keep on spending. Double down. Spend more. But vote for me. Vote for me. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know about the Warrior Poet's take. I'm subscribed to his channel. I've watched him. He's had some, actually, the last take I watched on him, Mr. Overton sent to me, and it was his take on Andrew Tate. And I'd say that it was 100% done. I'd say it was the hottest take on Andrew Tate that I had seen so far. That video was very well done. So I do respect the guy. He definitely has some good takes. I don't know what he said about this song, but I'll go back. I'll go back and watch it. I'll tell you what, I will watch it because I do like the Warrior Poet Society. I do like, is it Jim Lovell? I forget, I should know that. No disrespect to the Warrior Poet Society. But that take he had on Andrew Tate was on point. So I'll tell you what, I will, don't be mad at me. If I was wrong, I will own it. I'll go back and watch it. And if he brings something or something that I had not considered, I will, we can talk about it. We'll be here tomorrow, Lord willing. They played his song at the Republican debate. Oliver tweeted, I don't support either side politically, not the left nor the right. I'm about supporting people and restoring local communities. Yeah, that's what I've been saying as well. That's absolutely true. Now go breathe some fresh air and relax, please. I'm not worth obsessing over. I promise. Go spend time with your loved ones. Yeah, and that's the message that I like what Oliver just said. I think that that's very well put. He doesn't control that the Republican. I was going to say, if the Republican National Committee is playing your song at their event, then you are my enemy. Just kidding, of course, right? You are my enemy, meaning that that would make me a little bit suspicious. But the fact that Oliver got out ahead of it and sees it the same way and is not going to allow them to the warm death embrace of the Republican Party, which would destroy you if you accepted and kissed that ring. Um, uh, that would have been bad. But Oliver didn't do that. Oliver said that he doesn't pick any side. So I don't know. I can't disagree with that. I'm sorry, Oliver, if I offended you. But what I said is true. You may not like to hear it, but what I said is true. Like Owen Benjamin says, Overton always reminds me, and it's so perfect. I can't claim it. I wish I would have coined this myself. I may be wrong, but I'm not lying. How better can you put it? Shout out to Mr. Benjamin. Kaysen McClung. Good to see you here, Kaysen. Kaysen's been with us for 4 months. We have a super chat. Bad times make strong men. Strong men make good times. Good times make weak men. And weak men make hard times. And there we have the circle that goes round and round, how we always end up. We destroy ourselves. It must be very frustrating for the Almighty to watch us to continue to make the same mistakes over and over and over again. The whole history of man written down in the Old Testament is all a story of that, of the ebb and flow, of the peaks and the troughs, of the drawing close and getting right with God, and then times getting good and receiving the blessings of God, just to lose focus and turn away from God and to focus on the blessings, and then the fall away from God, and then the hard times and the good times and the hard times and the good times. The more I read, the more I understand. And I think, Overton, he was alluding to this. I saw in the chats. Get out of your emotions is what he's saying. Look around you. Things are really not that bad. If you strip yourself, if you turn off the Fox News. See, I wanted to replace Fox News with an expletive. CNN, MSNBC, NPR, whatever. It doesn't make any difference. It does not make any difference. If it's on the television, if it's on the magic box, then turn it off. They would have you believe that they're all about keeping us in fear. People say, well, you keep us in fear. No, I'm not keeping you in fear. I've been in fear. I'm evolving as well, gentlemen. This has been you walking along with me. I'm not claiming to be a prophet. I'm not claiming to have all the answers. I'm just a husband and a father that's trying to provide for his family and trying to keep as much of my hard work and my efforts as much as possible. And also being able to do what I want to do without people constantly telling me what to do, whether it put a diaper on my face or where I can or can't build a house on my property. I'm not saying that I've arrived. I'm just saying that we're waking up to this, gentlemen. We're waking up to this reality, and complaining about it and blaming rich men and blaming politicians, that's not going to get us anywhere. That time they've been doing it my entire life, and I'm done doing it. I don't care. I don't watch their news. I don't care about their press conferences. I don't care about the Supreme Court rulings. I just don't have any faith in it. I don't feel like I'm being represented. So why waste any more time with it? What can I focus on? What can I actually have change? What can I change and have effect on? Well, it's not complaining about politicians and complaining about the rich man. The rich man does what he does and always has. We have a new member, Mr. Cattywhelp. Shout out to you, Caddy. Welcome. And a $20 super chat from Brave Sig 8. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate that support. And Mike Scott, goodness, we have a shout out to you, Mr. Scott. A 1-year member, a $50 super chat. Thank you, beloved. Goodness. Man's got to work a long time to save $50 after taxes. I appreciate that. I know what goes into that. I know the sacrifice. Thank you, Mr. Scott. No message, just support. Daniel, Goodzek, 6-month member, a Canadian friend. Mr. Goodzeg writes, I enjoyed your video yesterday. Made me chuckle. Well, it is. Of course, you've got to be. People were accusing me of trying to ride on coattails. I'm not riding on coattails. This is the big thing right now. I haven't done React videos in the past. I make my own content. I like React videos. I watch a lot of them. I don't have a problem with them. If a guy wants to run a React video and he's good at it, has the talent and the ability to rise up and to build that channel, I think that's cool. That's just fine. Whatever entertains the people, whatever people like to watch. YouTube is fun for that reason. So I have to ask myself, was I being over the top? Was I trying to be edgy to get attention? No, I didn't even think it would be controversial, to be honest with you. I was surprised. Mrs. W, she's visiting her folks. She sent me an email like, I don't know if I like that video or not. I think you're offending a lot of people. Well, I don't know what I can say. A lot of people ask me to do it. I don't get asked to do reaction videos. Many people asked me to do a React video on it. I did it, and that was my initial thought, my initial impression. I listened to it again today. What I said, I would still say the same thing. No one has convinced me otherwise. Here's your opportunity. Convince me I'm wrong, and I will own it. Oh, we have an update, gentlemen. Hot off the press. You're not going to want to miss this. This is very important. There's a lot of you that have been waiting for this. Actually, my friend Mr. Brian, he's been wanting to get some radio stuff from Evan. So I told him, I said, go to Evan's site, Radio Made Easy, pick out the things you want. He was getting some radio, antenna, different things, and give me the list, and I'll order it for you. And he's been talking about this for like 4 weeks now. So every week or so, he's like, should I put that order in, or you want that list? So I'm like, just wait. Another week. We're about to have a drop. Well, we have a drop coming. I have just been informed by the middlemen, the Gen 2, the Mark II radio kits preparing for release as we speak within the week. So that means that we will most likely be making an announcement on the live stream or as soon as they show up. I don't know. I don't see them. I'm in the dark just like you guys. I told you guys I keep my greasy paws out of it because all I do is muck things up and overcomplicate it. I leave it to the professionals. I trust Evan and the middlemen. They sort it all out, and what is going to be offered to us is going to be incredible. I don't know what it is. I have no idea yet, other than there might be a digital option. There might be an SOE custom bag. I don't know. I could be wrong. But there you have it. The announcement will be made this week. So get ready to move on that. That will be limited. Once they're done, they're done. We use ours almost every day. Mr. Kaysen McClung, member for 6 months. We have a super chat. Shout out to you, Kaysen. Kaysen says politics equals poly, many, tick, a parasite. Many parasites. Isn't that interesting? Politics, if you break it up, poly, many, polygamy, multiple wives, multiple husbands, tick, a parasite. Yeah, so do you know about K Street? So when I was working as a construction superintendent, I drove down to Washington, D.C. I'd never seen it before. Had my rental car, had my weekends off, and went down there and went to the Smithsonian and all of the cool museums and to the Capitol building, of course, all of the sites. I was at the Jefferson Memorial, went to Mount Vernon, surprised that George Washington was a tall king like me. I think he was 6 foot tall, 6'1". It's been said that for every politician in Washington, there are between 7 and 12 lobbyists. That's what we're told. I would say that you could probably double that. It'd be closer to the truth. But I believe it's called K Street. K Street is where all the very nice, super fancy homes are, where the wealthy folks that influence the politicians, the lobbyists, where they all are all based. And you can, that just came to my mind. That parasite tick, yeah, there you go. Have no faith in it, beloved. Have no faith in it. Render unto Caesar things that are Caesar's, and then to God the things that are God's. We have a super chat from Mr. Zach. Shout out to you, Zach. Zach writes, always wondered why you wear 2 watches in your video. Any reason? Love the channel. Yes, it's very simple. I wear 2 watches so I can tell the time. Good question. Shout out to you. Mr. Cason McClung, we have a member for 6 months. A super chat. Mr. McClung writes, keeps 1 watch set to East Coast man's time so he can remind himself how far ahead he is. Actually, that's true. I wasn't going to say that. Mrs. W gets mad when I tell us I do. I keep the left, excuse me, the right, it depends. It depends on whether it's a leap year or not, but usually the East Coast time I keep on the left hand, you know, because that's the wiping hand, so that I know what time East Coast man goes to bed, because my pastime is I collected phone numbers when I was early in my career on YouTube. And so I've saved all these to my speed dial. Shout out to Bugs Bunny. Wranglerstar, would you buy the Wrangler Rubicon or the 4Runner or something else if you needed to buy one in the next couple of years? I would not buy a Mopar. A Mopar is a Chrysler product. I would not buy anything that was a Jeep. I know they look cool. I know that all the dudes have them and the Overlanders and all that, but I can tell you, someone who has intimate knowledge of that company, I used to own a Jeep wrecking yard. They were okay then, but they were always 3rd tier. Chrysler's always been 3rd tier, but it's really bad now. They've got a lot of warranty problems. They've got a lot of recalls. They've got a lot of shoddy manufacturing. I just don't. It's a lot. It's all show and no go type of thing. I do not trust them. Toyota is a byword for reliability. It really is. I mean, really, when you think about, if I had to buy, like if I thought, okay, I've got to make a trip, I got to make survive a death trip. Like I've got to go across the United States in post-apocalyptic hellscape to go to save my mother, who's held up in a filthy, roach-infested 200 square foot apartment in downtown Manhattan. And I've got to fight all manner of Southern man and Midwestern man and maybe even Florida man who ventures up on my turf. I need to have the most reliable, best vehicle possible. What would that be? What would that be? It would be a Toyota 4Runner or a Toyota Land Cruiser. No question. Especially you have to get into the Pro or into the TRD off-road, because you need those locking differentials and you want the traction control and the crawl and all that stuff. You want all that cool stuff. But there's no question. To do that trip in a Mopar, oh, goodness. I mean, it just makes me afraid just thinking about it. Like this, I can't even just imagine like the parts and the tools that I would have to carry just to keep the thing running. No, don't buy the Mopar. Alpha, the Alpha is in the chat. Papa Daddy, the Georgia Crazy Cajun, the True Blue Boomer, donations for the Royal Academy, Crochet Department, Scholarship Fund. You know, I should give back. You know, I have not, you know, Mrs. W and I give, we give to various charitable organizations, legal defense funds for homeschooling, various other ministry and missionary adventures and such, but I had never considered, you know, the dividend that degree has paid in my life, and the benefits that I've reaped from majoring in interpretive dance with a minor in crochet has, how can you put a price on it? And the fact that I have not given back to the community, and not, so that other young men would be able to have those opportunities that I enjoyed in Scotland, beautiful country. Man, I feel ashamed. I feel ashamed. John Lovell, thank you. Warrior Poet Society. I'm sorry. I meant no disrespect to Mr. John Lovell. Yeah, I have. I've heard some good things from his channel. I had some bad things about him personally from some people that I trust who had a bad experience with him, but I wasn't there, so I don't know. So again, I kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. What I've seen on his channel, he's a funny dude. He seems pretty well squared away. Obviously, he's got background in special forces. He's a combat veteran, I believe, and he's got some pretty hot takes. He's obviously a very intelligent guy. He's got some good takes. So I don't know anything more about that. But I think he's a pretty good dude in my book. He's never done me wrong. The Ginger Ninja is back. Welcome, brother. He's clarifying. That's fine here. We don't need to get into our emotions. As I said, this was one man's opinion. It was not very popular. It was popular with half of you. It was very polarizing and very unpopular with the other half, or at least an outspoken minority who likes to upvote or downvote. But obviously it touched a chord. The Ginger Ninja is trying to clarify here. What I'm saying is Oliver agrees with you. Screw the politicians. The fact that his song is mainstream is a good thing. Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree. Creative people have the ability through music, through memes, through storytelling, through YouTube videos. They have the ability to make people think about things they haven't thought about before. And judging off of that, if Oliver's song opens people's... there's been a lot of it. There's been a lot of... Again, the song was fine. I'm not disagreeing with anything that was said in there, but why the disproportionate overreaction to it? How many creators are in your sub box that have been talking about this forever? I've been talking about getting out of the cities for a decade? So many dudes. Simplify. Move to the country. Get an overland vehicle. You live in the city, get an option. Get your larder full. Lots of different things. Keep yourself healthy. There's all this stuff. We've all been doing it, and I don't know. Maybe the accusations are right that you're just jealous because he's getting all this attention and you're not. I don't think that's what it is. I don't care about that. I just don't understand the disproportionate reaction. I don't know. I didn't think about it. I spoke and reacted what came into my mind when I watched it in real time. I will probably evolve. Mr. NS. And I don't disagree with you, Ginger Ninja. I don't disagree with you. The fact that his song is mainstream is good, yeah. Rich Man. Why wasn't it titled Politicians then? Why the rich man? The rich man's always the boogeyman. And how many times is the rich man used by the politicians to get the attention off of themselves? Democrats have been using that for how long? How long have they been pitting the majority of Americans against the wealthy when they are the wealthy? How does a politician that goes in and pulls a salary for what do they make? $250,000 a year plus benefits. How do they 5, 10, 20 years later, how are they worth $50 million? How do they have multiple homes, a place on Martha's Vineyard? How are they flying private when they went in there as civil servants? And that but it's the rich man. That's the point. These simplistic labels. Oh, just the rich dude is the reason why you're unhappy. And if we were to take from him, then you would be happy. If we could punish the rich man, then you wouldn't have, it's the victim mindset is the problem. That's what you're not seeing, that I think that I'm seeing and that you're not seeing, is that mindset of, oh, woe is my problems. Yeah, we've all got problems, gentlemen. All of us. Do I show you all of my problems? Am I complaining about everything all the time? No, I'm not complaining about it. But we all have problems. Your problems are not worse than mine. They're just different. But the difference is I'm not going to be complaining about politicians anymore. I'm not going to look to them to save me. I'm not going to look to government to save me. I've realized that we're in the deep end now. You're either going to sink and you're going to swim. And coddling you and babying you is not going to prepare you for the open ocean. You need to have it out. You need to realize you've been abandoned. You've been sold out. You have no advocate and no representation in your government, in my opinion. You need to figure it out. And the quicker someone tells you that, and the quicker you realize that, the further along you're going to be. And you're going to stop going in the wrong direction. So even focusing on politicians and rich men and greedy corporations, even paying lip service to it anymore, is so beyond tedious. We need to look to our gardens. We need to look to simplifying reliable four-wheel drive vehicles, getting ourselves in shape, and building our friend networks and building our communities and getting right with God. That's what we need to focus on, not bitching and complaining about rich men and politicians. Mr. NS tells me, we have a super chat, shout out to you, brother, tells me that the serpent is crawling inside of my ear. He says a serpent is crawling inside of your ear. He says you must vote for what you want to hear. Don't matter what's wrong as long as you're all right. Pull yourself stupid, rob yourself blind, Iron Maiden. Oh, it's a quote for Iron Maiden. Yes, again, as I've told you guys, a lot of creative people are canaries in the coal mines. They have, and I don't understand it, I don't know why, they have the ability to see things happening before they happen. I quoted 2 books you should read, 3. The first, you should read Fountainhead, and then Atlas Shrugged, and then Anthem. The rest of the stuff is not interesting. Maybe Anthem's not interesting either. Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, read those 2. She saw it. She saw what happens when you steal from people. When you steal from the most productive and you demonize the most productive, which are men in this country. And what happens to a country when the men say, I've had it, I'm done. You hate me? You despise me? My masculinity is toxic? Okay, well then you go run the power plant. You get up in the bucket truck and you go get the power back on. You stock the shelves, you run and work in the mechanics garages, you keep the bridges open, go up and put the roofs on the building. You do all of the things that we have done to make you comfortable and to giving you the ability to live in the best country in the world. How long will we be despised before we just simply say we're not doing it anymore? That's where I'm at, gentlemen. And many other men are there as well. And the more you focus on Washington and politics and Fox News and Donald Trump and the left, whatever, the more people who actually get it are preparing and getting ready. And you're not. It's a great deception. You're being led down, a Pied Piper is leading your attention to Washington, and while your whole world is crumbling underneath of you, and it's not coming back. Iron Maiden. I haven't listened to Iron Maiden. I never was really into Iron Maiden. I was a Judas Priest man myself. Until I found out about Rob Halford. Very disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm going to read that one more time because public school reared its ugly head in my illiteracy. So this is a quote from an Iron Maiden song. Let's see if it's prophetic. The serpent is crawling inside of your ear. He says you must vote for what you want to hear. Don't matter what's wrong as long as you're all right. Pull yourself stupid. Rob yourself blind. There you have it. Maybe I should have been an Iron Maiden man and not a Judas Priest man. I got Turbo Lover, and I could have had this actual insight. I wouldn't have heard it though. I was too deceived. Too deceived. Mr. Overton Windex is coming in, dropping the gauntlet with a $100 super chat. Shout out to you, brother. Welcome. Goodness. Overton is dropping some knowledge on us. Hard times make strong men, and strong men make good times, and good times make weak men, and weak men make hard times, which is what we have right now. Right now is what we're going into. Sensible men, when they see things slipping, they do not look for a hill to die on. They look for a hill to grow on. You do not need to continue the cycle. There you have it. And that sums up exactly Overton, and also Mr. Barr. Both of us were of the same mind. We're kind of scratching our head, It's like that. What was all the hype about that song? They agreed with me 100%. We're both of the same mind. These are people that I trust, that opinion matters to me. So I didn't consult with them. They told me nothing about it. They didn't bias me. I wouldn't have let them. But I find it very interesting that two of the men that I have a great deal of respect for and whose opinion and counsel I value above many, many others came to the same conclusion that I did, and we came to it independently. There's safety in numbers. And they don't have to be the majority. If the majority is siding with you, beloved, you are on the wrong side. I tell you that for sure. That's very well put. Sensible men, read this again, sensible men, when they see things slipping, meaning men with sense, men with their ability to think and react apart from all of the mind control, when a man like this sees things slipping, do we see things slipping? They do not look for a hill to die on. You're going to die on you're going to die on the hill of politics. You're going to die on the hill of the Republican Party. Are you going to die on the hill of Donald Trump after he completely dropped the ball and showed everyone where his allegiance was? We're all going to forget that. We're all going to forget what happened at the end of the term and the pardons. And we're all going to forget all of those who labored through the 2016 election in video posts and tweets and all of the alt media that helped this man to bring about the great change, how he just abandoned them. And what did he say when they were being persecuted? I'm monitoring the situation. I'm monitoring the situation. And you're so willing to be able to just accept him as your new Messiah and give him another shot at it. Look at who was around him. Look at who was in his cabinet. Look at who his minders were. He may have good intentions. He may have bad intentions. I don't know. But I don't believe it's within the power of one person to affect the change that we would need. It's too corrupt. It's too entrenched. There are too many interest parties that are affected by policy, and there's too much money involved in it. And your vote, to think your vote, you're going to send that up there on Capitol Hill, and that's going to make a difference, you need to let that go, beloved. We have a member message from JF Farmer. It's been with us for 21 months. Shout out to Mr. Farmer. What are your thoughts on the movie Only the Brave? It was a great movie. We should do, now that I'm getting somewhat sophisticated, shout out to Mr. Jason Barr, getting somewhat sophisticated with my OBS and stuff, I would be able to do, for our members, we could watch the movie together and do a live stream, and I could comment. I did a video review of Only the Brave. Only the Brave was a wildland firefighting movie that was released long time. I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago. It was probably 20 years ago, or I don't know, 10. It was a while back. about the Granite Mountain hotshots that were all killed in a burnover. It's quite a good movie. Technically, I really enjoyed it because of the tactics that they were using. There was too much love story. They have to 52% of the population is women. They have to put the love story in for the ladies. I get that. So we have to endure that. Thankfully, I fast forward all that. I want to see what the dudes are wearing. I want to see the equipment that they're using. I want to see the tools. I want to make sure that technically it's correct. Because if it's not technically correct, I'm not going to watch it. It's insulting to me. I can't watch a movie that doesn't make an attempt at things that could be possible. Now I understand, there's got to be. These are American movies. There's got to be sensationalism. I understand this. And I'm willing to make believe a little bit, but if it's so absurd, like no one ever reloading magazines or optics put on backwards, I just can't go there. I can't deal with it. So I never got any of that. I found it to be technically very correct. There was a lot of love story in it. It was a little bit too much for me, half of the movie. But overall, it was good. I enjoyed it. I went back and tried to rewatch it. This was right when when I learned Jack was going to be working on the Type 2 hand crew. I tried to watch it, but after fast forwarding through all of, and the women complaining, I never understood this. A woman marries a man that's a wildland firefighter, right? That spirit, that courage, that spirit of adventure, just the type of guy that attracts is appealing to women. Firefighter Chad is real. It appeals to her. And the moment she locks him down, or they get married or in a committed relationship, then the complaining starts. Oh, 2 weeks? Oh, do you really have to go? You said you were going to stay. They start trying to change the very man that they want. That's why, gentlemen, you need to be very, very feral, in my opinion. Mrs. W referred to me as feral one time, and I thought, exactly, that's what you want to be. You never want to be. Don't let them homogenize you. Don't let them take from you the things that eventually that originally drew them to you. Your unpredictability, your courage, your willingness to have a purpose and not just make her your purpose. Once a man no longer has a purpose, a woman becomes his purpose. And then when a woman becomes your purpose, you lose the respect of that woman. They are to be a helpmate, a partner. God has given them to you as a helpmate to work beside you, not to be the end all be all, not to be your purpose in life. And I found that it was so interesting that my whole paradigm, my whole thought process of coming out of the lessons and the way that our boomer parents taught us about the world, about history, about relationships. When I first watched that movie, I was very much deeply entrenched in that still. And when I came out of that through COVID and many different things that opened our eyes to the way the world really works, and now I watch it with new eyes, with clear eyes, now that the scales have fallen off, a lot of those movies that I thought were so good now are abhorrent to me. And when I saw just all of just the women whinging and causing conflict with the guy, these dudes are trying to go out and to do something extraordinary. It was the first private non-U.S. Forest Service hotshot crew. Now, they faced all sorts of problems from the Forest Service. They didn't want them to do it. Applications process. This is all true. And I've worked with the Forest Service enough to know that they gatekeep. They put their own people on the good stuff. They have their own area where they camp on the fire ground. They eat separate, they eat in the area, but you don't go sit with them. They do their own thing. They give themselves, they're the ones running the fire. They give their own firefighters initial attack, the best stuff. All of the contractors, all of the local guys, the district guys, they get all of the garbage. That's the way that it is. That's the way that it works. There is gatekeeping, and they were gatekeeping with these Granite Mountain hotshots. This was the first kind of a private, and they'd met the criteria. and they still were having problems. What was the point of this? Oh, so this is what's going on. These women that are attached to these men that are trying to do something extraordinary, trying to be the very first non-Forest Service hotshot crew. They understand how important this first fire is, how they perform. They're going to be evaluated. This is everything for them. This is everything they've worked for. And yet, what's the most important thing to the women? Oh, I'm so sad. I'm so lonely. I have to stay here at home by myself while my man is out working and making money and trying to do something amazing, trying to fulfill a lifehood dream. Dream killers. Dream killers. Now, not all. I'm not saying all, but I'm just telling you, guard against that, gentlemen. Guard against that. Make sure you remember what it was that attracted you to this woman, that may be your girlfriend, maybe your wife, and keep doing that. Stay focused on that. Take care of your family, but don't make a woman your priority. And when I see all that, all of the relationship stuff, I'm like, I just want to see the firefighting. I want to see the dudes doing something cool, doing something. I want to see them become hotshots and stick it to the Forest Service or being gatekeepers and elitists. I was rooting for them. But when I went back to try to watch it, I couldn't get through it. I couldn't get through of all the relationship stuff and all the nonsense, and I just turned it off. So now I don't know that I want to go rewatch it. I don't know that I can. Now I see so clearly. I see so clearly all of the programming. Mr. Cowboy Bear, shout out to you. It's always good to see a bear in the chat. Finally catching you live again. Finally got my 20 AC truck, trailer, tractor, and sawmill. Spent 9 hours only getting 3 fence posts in through 4 foot of gravel. I know, man, the struggle is real. I get it. But, you're working. You just got to keep doing it. That's what I've learned, gentlemen. We want to be successful right away. We want to have, we're in the fast culture, 2-day delivery, Amazon, we want stuff to happen fast, but really success comes from consistency. You just got to keep on going, keep doing, get your stuff and go. Man, that's good. Cowboy Bear, I'm glad to hear that. He's crushing. Truck, trailer, tractor, sawmill. 4 foot of gravel. Yeah, that sounds familiar. But do it while you can, while there's still resources available, while you still have a job, you still have money coming in. Get the things that you need. People are still waiting around. Oh, waiting for ammo prices to drop. Oh, waiting for gas and diesel to go down before I buy 500 gallons. It ain't going down, gentlemen. Interest rates, get into a piece of property, get into it now. I don't see them going down anytime soon. I just don't see it. This is going to be bad. It's going to be bad. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm just telling you, don't be caught with your pants down. Realize that people are going to be becoming desperate. And competition for jobs is going to become severe. And there's not going to be a bunch of money sloshing around. And things are going to get expensive. It would be better than sitting on a bunch of money right now. Or it'd be get the things that you need. Get yourself a reliable 4-wheel drive, a country property. Even if you don't build on it, gentlemen, you can live comfortably in the tent. I've been down here living in the tent with Mrs. W gone and loving it. This is good. You don't need all those comforts. And do it now, train now, so that in the event where you need to make some hard decisions, that it's not going to be a big surprise. You'll be like, oh yeah, well, we can do that. Not a big deal. Not a big deal bugging out when you bug out every weekend in your overland vehicle with your family and you get it. And you know how much water and food you need and you know what you need. And you're having a good time doing it. You could be up there crocheting on the top of a mountain, crocheting for the bums. And let's dispense with this homelessness nonsense. Back in the day when I was a boy, they called them bums. Mr. Kevin, our newest member. Shout out to you. Welcome. We have a member message from Andrew Hanwell, and 6-month member. He's asking me a question. Have I ever heard of Jimmy DeRista on YouTube? I've actually met him. I met him and he was angry at me. He was salty because of something I'd said about him. I'll tell you what it was. I think I remember it. he is an East Coast man through and through. Let's get that straight right away. He is the quintessential East Coast man, but I think he's a good one. But he loves tools, building Proho for sure. Currently fixing up a 200-year-old house. Yeah, he does some great stuff. He's a very talented craftsman. He's very much like myself, where I think he's very curious. He likes to learn new things and try new things. I like his stuff. I've watched him for years. I met him, and I didn't know that there was an issue. It was at a YouTube deal. There was a whole bunch of content creators. It was down at a kind of a hotel bar type of thing, restaurant. They were serving food. It was catered. And I ran into him. And someone right before I ran into him came up to me and said, "Oh, Jimmy DeRista's here. He hates you." I said, "Oh, he hates me? I'd never heard this before." Really played it up. It was trying to stir the pot, trying to provoke me. And I'd never met Jimmy. And I'd never I liked his stuff. I was a subscriber to his channel. I was actually excited to meet him. Well, apparently what had happened was this. I had, I'm fond of saying the term, there's nothing more insufferable than a new convert to something. Like a new convert to CrossFit, or a new convert to veganism, or a new convert to vintage crosscut saws. That was me. Well, I was insufferable as well. And I started becoming aware, like, oh, they don't make them anymore, and they're so special. Oh, we need to preserve all of them. I was into it. This is what I do. I get into things. You know how it is. Well, I think what happened, I'm going off of memory here. I could be wrong. Jimmy probably tell you a different story. He had done a video where he got his branding, he's got his logo, DeRista, which is kind of cool. He puts it on everything that he makes. Really cool. I think he'd taken an old crosscut saw and he'd laser cut out DeRista. He'd ruined one of these saws when I was at peak insufferable crosscut saw guy. And he had done this horrible thing. Well, I was aghast. I was mortified. What had he done? The heresy. I don't remember what I must have commented, or I said something about, I can't believe that East Coast guy ruined one of these priceless saws. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It was a bridge too far. If I would have been Jimmy, I would have thought that to have been pretty annoying, to be honest with you. And so I think that's what it was about. But in his defense, I met him, and we shook hands, and we visited for a little bit there, not very long. But he was very delightful. He was respectful, polite, interesting, and just a good dude. And for an East Coast guy, not half bad. Not half bad. Shout out to Mr. DeRista. Mr. Alan Wolfkill, and 1 month member. We have a super chat. Alan writes, "Do you also dislike Tom McDonald?" The Tom McDonald song as well. I haven't heard it. Tom McDonald. I don't know the song. I have a vague idea who he is. Someone told me he was another right-wing grifter. I don't know. I don't know. Is it like a white rap, conservative rap? I'm just not interested in. It's just so, that music is so bad, beloved. It's so bad. It's so bad. And what's worse, no, it's just as bad. It's equally bad, is modern country music. Modern country music, I was so thankful that at least Oliver was a folk singer. Had he strapped up some cowboy boots and a big old Texas 10-gallon hat and a steel guitar, I wouldn't have been able to get through that video. I would have broke the keyboard hitting the space button to stop the whole process. But I do like some folk music, and he's definitely talented. I don't know. I have no opinion. He's probably a grifter, but I could be wrong. Mr. Ginger Ninja is back. This is the Ginger Ninja's particular hobby horse. This rich man north of Richmond, I can see he's got his teeth into this, trying to clarify here. He goes on to clarify. Shout out to the Ginger Ninja. It's a clever way of saying politicians' alliteration. I don't know what that means. I wish I did. Ginger Ninja, you might be smarter than I am. I don't understand all of these things. I don't know. Thank you for your super chat nonetheless. MCamp311, we have a $10 super chat. Shout out to you. Thank you, brother. Just supporting. And Daniel Goodzek. Welcome, Daniel. We have a $13.99. I'm going to, come on now, just because I can. Shout out to you, Daniel. Daniel writes, recently picked up a 1020 takedown airsoft with the Magpul backpacker stock. That's cool, man. That is cool. Was curious if you have experience with that or what bag works well. Oh, I wish I did. You know, I don't have one. I have in my possession, I think I have 4 1022s. Now, just the old school ones. I've got back in the 90s, we used to hunt jackrabbits. Me and the boys. This was before I left the Christian cult. So the boys that I grew up with, my 9 best friends that I knew from infancy, we hunted together. We did everything together. We were mates, right? As our Australian friends say. Every year we would go down to southeastern Oregon to a place called Christmas Valley. It is a desolate moonscape. It is desert scrub, sagebrush, rolling sand dunes, and death. Dry, desolate, nothing's down there. There's random lakes that are spattered around, but they're so alkali that you can't drink from them. It is, when you're there, you can just feel your life force and essence being leached out of you. But we would go down there for a 3-day weekend every year. So we would go down there, we would hunt jackrabbits at night. The jackrabbits, there are bazillions of them down there. And they are devastating. They were devastating the alfalfa fields, and the farmers were very happy to have us come there because we could shoot 1,000 or so between the group in over 3 nights, and we would. I don't need to get into all the grisly details, but it was what was the point of all of this? Oh, 1022s. That was the 1022 was the firearm of choice for that. We used to put thousands of rounds to those things, never cleaned them, never took care of them, so they're excellent. So what Daniel is talking about, they've got a super skookum unit that breaks down, you can break down the barrel, and this, man, how could that not be like the perfect pack rifle? You get the reliability and the 1022, which is legendary, in a compact deal. So I don't know the Magpul stock. I don't have one. I'd like to have one. I'll tell you, in my top 10, that'd be in my top 10. You know, if we're not talking about price, just things that would be cool to have, I would love to have one of those. But I don't know. I don't know what bag. I don't know what the barrel is or any of that. I don't know. Maybe Mr. Overton can chime in on that. He's our resident small arms expert. Cool gun, though, Daniel. Mr. James. Tyler, we have a super chat. 2-month member. Long time no see, brother. Hauling 14-foot wide tires to North Dakota. Man, shout out to you, man. I'll tell you, driving trucks, hard work. Hard work. Guys don't get enough credit for that. It's a rough business. It's just the work itself is difficult. Now, more difficult than ever. People on the road are insane. They don't have any sense. They weave in and out. They make the truck driver's job much worse, more difficult, where he has to be hyper alert. You know, you got to keep your insurance. You know, people just do stupid things. You got to deal with that. Then you got to deal with freight haulers lowballing, and it's just a shady business. It's hard for dudes to do trucking. It's hard. And then you got to be away from your family. You got to eat truck stop food, which is tough. It's hard to be healthy on the road. You know, it's really hard. It's one thing being at home. I always talk about all about clean foods and get away from this GMO stuff and all of this processed stuff. But when you're on the road, I mean, unless you're super, super deliberate, it's hard to do. I never was able to do it. So shout out to our truck drivers. 14-foot wide tires, man. Those are big old tires. Goodness. 14 feet. That's wide load for sure. Be safe out there, Tyler. Thanks for bringing us along on your haul. Tyler goes on to say with another super chat, the best thing that he ever did was to stop watching the news and start reading books on the rig. That's what I do too. Don't watch the news. I don't care. Don't even get in your mind that Fox News has something that you need to hear. They don't need to. It's worse because it is a wolf in sheep's clothing. At least the left, you know where they're coming from. But if you're still a boomer and you're still thinking you're getting some news on mainstream, bro, come now. Thank you, Tyler. Be safe out there. Thank you for supporting us. Mr. Harley J. Miller. We have a super chat. Mr. Harley J. Miller writes, love it, Wranglerstar. Not a fan of the song either. But Mopar is not such a bad brand. I've had very good luck with them. Yeah, there's always going to be some, and that's anecdotal. And I'm glad that you got a good one. You got a non-Friday built Mopar. Maybe you maybe you had a whole shift that was substituted in by West Coast man, and East Coast had the day off. I don't know. I've owned over 100 Jeep Wranglers. I know them intimately. Now, this was the TJ. The TJ wasn't bad built, but but today they're much worse. You know, they're much worse. They look great, man. They look really good. They're some of the best looking vehicles out there. The Brute, I mean, it's cool, man. It's cool, and they got cool engines and all that stuff. But overall, you got to look at I've been hearing a lot of complaints. I still dabble a little bit in the auction industry and the used car industry. You know, that was my life for over a decade. So I have friends in it and still do it. You know, I've always been into cars. Word on the street is that they're not very well built, and there's a lot of problems with them. A lot of dudes that are line mechanics that upload YouTube content, a lot of problems with them. A lot of problems with a lot of new cars, even Ford. But you don't hear that from Toyota techs very much anymore. I don't think there's no sane pro-ho that is going to come in here and say that Mopar is of a higher quality or status or reliability, more reliable than a Mopar than a Toyota. No serious person is going to make that statement. Now, don't build a case on anecdotal evidence, meaning you're one sample. That's all I'm saying. I'm glad you got a good one, though. Shout out to Harley J. Miller and his reliable Mopar. You see, miracles do happen. We have a member message from Mr. Ryan Barnes. Ryan's been with us for 6 months. Shout out to you, Ryan. Ryan says it's about the cultural victory. Well, this is the cutting edge of the cultural war right here, beloved. YouTube. This channel, many other channels, we are talking about the things that are important, the things that are happening right now, and what to do, the best we can. We may be wrong, as my friend Owen says, but we're not lying to you. It's about cultural victory, says Mr. Barnes. Reasonable messages, populist messages rarely make the mainstream. Bud Light, Target, this song, we're winning. Are we? Are we winning? Or is this deception so deep? Let's take Target and Bud Light. What if the attempt was, the intention was to destroy these companies. What's more iconic than Budweiser, the king of beers? What's more American than Budweiser? What do you see? You know, we had patriotism, the Clydesdales, the troops for years. I would imagine they were probably the number one beer being served overseas in the military bars and such. Iconic, right? Budweiser, iconic. America doesn't have a great culture. Our culture kind of is these brands, Apple, Budweiser, Walmart, Target. That's how we're known around the world, right? Well, if you want to destroy a country, you destroy its culture. And if its culture, I'm not saying for right or for wrong, are its brands, then you destroy its brands. And how clever, what a cherry on top for 5D chess is if you can get the very people to destroy their own culture by destroying their companies. Have you ever considered this? So we get it to the point where there's no longer a Walmart, there's no longer a Budweiser, there's no longer this, then there's no longer an America. And the very people that culture is being ripped away from them, that's being diluted and destroyed, they tore it down with their very own hands. Is this crazy to think about or to consider? Or do we just gleefully like, yeah, get rid of them. Yeah, down with Target. I'm just saying, there's people that are thinking deep about these things, beloved, and we are reacting. What I'm saying is that if something is being pushed everywhere, down with Budweiser, down with Target, I'm just saying, I'm not saying what they're doing is right. I'm not saying that the clothing and all that stuff and the campaigns and the rainbow, I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm thinking that the players, the real minds behind everything are way ahead of you guys. And they're using you to destroy you. Is that crazy? Is that a crazy concept? I don't know. Maybe it's not true. Maybe it is. But I can tell you this. If you see something being pushed on YouTube, television, on the popular channels, even though it may be wearing the robe of conservatism, wearing the robe of Donald Trump, wearing the robe of Republican conservatism, you guys automatically accept it in your own as your own, 100%, because you're loyal, faithful people. You're people of honor. And the enemy is exploiting that loyalty and that high trust. You're a high trust civilization being attacked by a low trust enemy. And they're like taking candy from babies, because you're not fighting the battle the way that they are fighting it. That's what I'm saying, beloved. The litmus test is this. If the mainstream's pushing it, if it's popular, if everyone's talking about it, do not trust it. Maybe there's something there, but look into it. Look who's behind it. Think. Believe nothing of what you see and half of what you hear. Is that what it is? Something like that. Believe almost none of it. Believe what's in front of you. I don't know that we're winning, Ryan. See, yeah, they'd like you to think that. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'm not advocating, I'm not supporting these companies. We have a new member, Mr. Hoosier Zoomer. Welcome, brother. And Ron Swanson, we have a super chat. Ron writes, the complainers are not addressing your criticism. They're just wasting time getting emotional. Thank you for being so far in front of all of these. Yeah, it's true. You guys, they had every opportunity. They don't even have to super chat. The middlemen throw up member messages. Half of the messages that come up, member messages. Make your argument. Undo, prove me wrong. I'll own it. I promise you. I've always owned when I've been mistaken. I don't have, Yes, I have pride and ego just like any other man, but I've never had so much that I won't admit when I'm wrong. Bring it. We're running out of time. I'm not hating on the artist. I'm hating on the mindset. The mindset of blaming someone else for your problems. All men have done that through eternity. It's a rare few that don't do that. That are not. Victimhood is the name of the game these days. And you guys are buying into it. I've bought into it before. I get it. But now we see it. So stop doing it. Mock it. Laugh at it and stop participating in it. Stop getting emotional. Effect change where you can. Get some guns, get some ammo, get some food, get a reliable vehicle, get some country property. Mr. Barr. Shout out to Mr. Barr. I'm going to do this. Must be nice. So I'm going to play the intro song. Nothing but the best production here. Nice. Must be nice to have a friend like Mr. Barr. He's bringing some knowledge. Mr. Barr always brings things in the right time. Romans 10:17. So then faithful cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Yeah, there you go. And I'll build upon that. The true wisdom comes from the fear of the Lord. True wisdom. So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Barr. Shout out to you. Amanda Willis. Good to see Amanda in the house. Gives me the fizz when I see Amanda writing. Amanda says, don't let women take your masculinity just to keep her from nagging. Nothing good will come of it. Soon she will find another reason to nag. Yeah, there you go. See, there you have advice from a true tradcon. Now, I have not met Amanda, but I've looked into it, and I have no question that Amanda is cut from the cloth of Mrs. W. A true tradcon. Not made anymore. Haven't been made for some time. A national treasure, akin to an Atkins crosscut saw, but even more valuable, more precious than rubies, the good book tells us. Right there. There you have it. Strong women worth having, good tradcons worth having, are attracted to strong, capable men. A woman is not going to get with a man she doesn't respect. A woman wants to be with a man that she respects and admires and maybe even sees as her superior. Now, I'm not saying that men are better than women. God has made both of us in the image, but he has given women, made her second to be our helpmate, to be a support, to complement us. I would not be sitting here and enjoy the success that I do without Mrs. W. I acknowledge that. I always have. She compensated for me. She was the best helpmate. God knew what he was doing when he made that woman and brought her into my life. But she's also been very careful not to try to strip me of my masculinity. But it's in her nature. As a woman, women are risk adverse more than men. Not all. There are courageous women. Let's not get it twisted here. I'm not bashing on women. When I'm bashing on whores, I also bash on useless men. Talking about a good woman and a good man, a tradcon, then I see this as a partnership. I don't think that a man is, there are different situations. Sometimes if you're called to the ministry, for example, Paul said it would be better that you would not to be married. You'd be more effective because God knows that a woman wants to be with her man, wants to have her man around, and sometimes cannot see through that. Her patriotism for her family trumps the man's need to go out and to conquer or to build his wealth. And there's nothing wrong with that. I get that. It's in her nature. But also a man needs to understand that you need to be sympathetic to that, but you cannot let that rule you. And that cannot be made your focus. You need to stay on your grind and you need to stay on your purpose and bring her with you. Bring her with you to complement you, to help you with this. But always be focused on the purpose and the woman secondary. The moment, as I said, the moment you make your woman your focus, she will lose respect for you and she will find a man that is focused on something other than her. They will tell you they want that, but it's not true. It's not true. So nothing against them. It's just They're protecting their turf just like we need to protect our turf. And the turf that we need to protect is our masculinity. It's the very thing that draws them to us and makes the relationship so beautiful. The femininity of the woman in check, the masculinity of the man in check, working, pulling in harness together, and you have, look what you can accomplish. Look what Mrs. and W and I have been able to accomplish in 10 years compared to where we were at. Thank you, Amanda. I'm looking forward to meeting you very much. Mr. Tyler James, 2-month member, $10 super chat. Thank you, brother. Tyler James writes, I found when my wife is after me for how long I'm out on the road, 2 months at a time, all I have to say is, I like paying bills early. There you go. Mic drop. Yeah. You know, it's no fun to be alone. But as a woman, you need to check yourself sometimes. You have a man out working, he's on the road, he's eating at truck stops, he's going through all the indignities that are involved with punching the clock. And, you know, it's hard, man, out there fighting against every other guy, fighting for the very existence of your family out there. And if you are a woman that's at home and being taken care of, and your man is providing the ability for you to be a stay-at-home mom and to raise your kids and to do whatever you want through the day within reason, you know what? You need not be complaining about anything. You need to be grateful that that man is out there. He's sleeping in his truck. You're sleeping in your bed. You could, at any given time, sit down and take a break, watch TV, do what you want to do, take the kids to the park, go watch a movie. Yes, there are household duties that need to be done, but he's out there doing it. He's out there away from home, away from his kids. And sometimes women will start feeling sorry for themselves and not understand or not appreciate the sacrifice that their men are doing out there on the road. And that needs to happen. I'll tell you the reason why I put in 14-hour days is because there's not a day that goes by that Mrs. W doesn't come in and put her hands on me and thank me for my hard work. Thanks me that for putting food on the table. Thank me that she can stay home and raise her children. And I will, men, we will go to hell and back for our women for just nothing more than that. You don't need to be a supermodel. You don't need to be the most beautiful thing. You don't need to be the most fit thing, but you do need to be appreciative and you do need to be grateful for the sacrifices that we make. That's all we ask. And not to be selfish and to realize that what a man is doing, he's usually doing it for his family. And if he could follow his own interests, he wouldn't be in that truck. He's in that truck because he's got to make money to put that roof over that family and to pay for those expensive children and the second car, the vacations, and all the things. And it's fine. It's fine. We're happy to do it, provided that we're not despised. Interesting, Mr. Overton. Yeah, I knew that because I have Glock 19s. I think they come with 15-round magazines, don't they? Mr. Tyler James, welcome back, brother. Tyler James back in the chat, $10 super chat. Must be nice to have a friend like Mr. James. Mr. James writes, I'd really like to see your reaction to Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean. Can I take the heat of another unpopular music review? Now, I could do it because I have not heard that song. What's the title of it? When I tell you, beloved, that I have checked out of mainstream media and politics, I have 100%. What is this song? Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean. You know, I fear... No, you're not going to like... You're not going to like what I have to say about that. I fear that that's country music. And My Good Old Boy and Us Against Them and the demon, the monster in the big city and the virtuous conservative in the country with his cowboy boot. Is he wearing cowboy boots? Is he wearing a cowboy hat? Um, I don't think that I would. I don't think I'm going to respond very well to that. And Mrs. W, it puts her teeth on edge when I am mean to people. So I probably just stay away from that. I do not care. Mr. Alan Wolfkill, $2 super chat, 1 month member. Welcome, brother. What's a biblical watchman in the wilderness? I do not know. Should I know this? What's a biblical watchman in the wilderness? Watchman. Well, what is a watchman? There's many references to watchmen that God gives as an example of the Christian man or the person, a follower of the way. A watchman is someone that would be on the parapet of a castle or a fortification. And his job would be to watch to see if an enemy approaches. Is dust rising 10 miles away from the footfall of the cavalry? And the watchman, regardless of time, daytime or nighttime, his job would be to inform the king or the commander of the army of the approaching army, to give them as much time as possible to prepare to defend. Now, a great amount of responsibility has been put on the watchman. I have not been in the military, but I know the military takes a dim view of a man that falls asleep on guard duty. I've even read stories of men that have fallen asleep on guard duty, meaning watching the watchman at night while the men slept, falling asleep, and that being punished as a capital crime, a death sentence. They take it very seriously. It's a very important job, something that would be posted 24/7 around the clock, a watchman to warn the people of impending danger. So that's the explanation of the definition of a watchman. And that's how it's used in the Bible, because people can relate to that. They knew what a watchman was. There are to be certain people that are watchmen. I would say that who the watchmen are would be the prophets. The prophets sent one after another by God to warn the people of impending doom. Who was a watchman? Jonah. Jonah. We have to know the story of Jonah and the great fish, right? Jonah was sent to that great town, Nineveh, to warn them of God's judgment coming. Yet 40 days, unless you repent, God will destroy this place. He went there and he preached the message. That was a watchman. Danger is coming. I'm warning you. This is an early warning. That's who it would be. God sends watchmen and has sent watchmen all through the written history of his interaction with man and woman. And he is constantly sending judgment, the judgment of God on people, which is a direct consequence of them turning away from him. So, are there watchmen today? Would be another question. Yes, I'm a watchman. Many people are preaching the message on YouTube or in your local church or in friend groups. Many watchmen. Expect watchmen to come from many places, maybe even places you don't expect. Be open-minded about it. He's been with us supporting for a month. He says, my granddad passed away. I inherited his old shop. He was a locksmith for all of his life. Any advice what to keep? Man, that's tough. That's a very specialized trade. Now, if you have an interest in following your grandfather's trade as being a locksmith, I would keep everything. Even things that you don't understand that are of value, once you become proficient, you will understand, oh, this was something that was of great value. So it's hard to know. But if you're not going to be a locksmith, then many of those things are not going to be valuable. It's hard to go through those things. What I would do if it were me, I would personally go through and really get the basics, the fundamentals. Does he have hammers, screwdrivers, end wrenches? Can you put together a basic mechanic set and a basic carpenter set? Levels, squares, maybe toolboxes, extension cords, the practical things that a man needs for his toolkit. I'd start with that. I would segregate that out. And then I would take a hard look at the specific tools, the locksmithing things, key cutters, specific vices. He probably has a whole bunch of blanks and all that sort of thing. Now that's probably not going to be of value to you. Keep a couple mementos, something that you can put in your shop that when you look at it, or maybe tools that you can use that will remind you, a touchstone to where you came from and who your grandfather was. But you have no obligation to keep all of that stuff. It's going to just be a burden to you. You have to haul around and move from house to house and house. You don't want to do that. It's hard to piecemeal that stuff too. What I would do is I would sell it as a locksmith business. I would spread it out, even if you don't understand what it all is. Take a video, take some pictures, put it up on Facebook Marketplace. Try to assess a value the best you can. And if someone would want to come that wanted to be a locksmith or was a locksmith, trying to expand their tool selection, then you would be doing them a favor and taking care of a big headache for yourself. But that's what I would do personally. We have a member message from Mr. Corey Gardner, 7-month member. Shout out to you, brother. GMH was the first municipal fire department interagency crew, and being from Prescott, they did pretty okay with the movie. Is that just dust in my eyes? Well, yeah, no, my heart bled for those guys. You know, I mean, it brings me sadness thinking about it. I was on the fire on Mount Fuji when that happened. I was in a division. We were involved in direct attack, and the division supervisor pulled the entire division off of the fire line for a midday meeting. I think it was midday. I don't remember all the details. I might get some of it wrong. But there were a lot of dudes on. It was a big division, and brought us all in and told us about the Granite Mountain tragedy of the hotshots that were burned over and all killed in their fire shelters. I'll never forget it. It gives me chills down my spine right now thinking about it. I didn't know those guys. I can grieve as much as a person can grieve for someone he's never met, but it's a small community, and it touched me. It touches me still today. And I enjoyed the movie. I did enjoy the movie, and I thought that it was done well, apart from, the things I complained about. But yeah, I'll bet it does. Granite Mountain Hotshots, GMH. It was the first municipal fire department interagency crew. Yeah, that was a big thing. That was something that they also got that point across pretty well in the movie of the gatekeeping of the Forest Service and such. And, no, I don't blame them. If I was in the Forest Service and I was an elite guy, a smoke jumper, or a super skookum hotshot dude, I would be reluctant. I'd be gatekeeping as well. I'd want to protect, and I'd want to keep the standard high, because the standard is very high for those guys. They do good work. I've worked with many of them. They're elitist and insufferable. Trust me, if you're not one of them. But they're good. But they're good at what they do, and they've earned most of them have earned the right to be there. There's always exceptions, but for the most part, the ones that I've worked with have been good dudes. And my experience was, whenever I was attached to work with them, and it's often that a Type 6 engine, that's what I was engine, Type 6 engine would be attached to a hotshot crew to support multiples. I wasn't a lazy scrub. Me and my guys got out and we did everything. Our mission was to make those guys, their job as easy as possible. Whether that be bringing them cold Gatorades, whether that be working extra hard to lay out 800 feet of hose so they didn't have to dry mop, or shuttling them piss pumps so they didn't have to run back themselves with their own guys. And I'll tell you, you work hard for them a couple days like that, and they see you putting the effort in and seeing you work just as hard as they are, you'll have their respect, and their whole demeanor will change. So you got to earn respect on the fire ground. But I liked the movie. I did like it. Mr. Mike, we have a super chat, $5, who writes, a prayer request from everyone. Lost my job and actually looking to get a new one. I'm sorry about that, Mike. It's even if you know it's coming or expect it's going to come. I've lost jobs. I've been laid off. I've been fired. I've quit them. it always ends with a certain amount of, I don't know, you feel a little depressed, a little anxious. When that tap is shut off, it's tough. I get that. It's tough. But look at it as an opportunity to find something better. And remember, don't just take the next thing that falls into your lap. A man, as my dad used to say, there's a bug on my lens. A man is only worth what he's willing to work for. So use this as an opportunity to be able to make more and do less work. That's what your goal is. So you have time to yourself, because that's the most important thing in life. Mr. Overton, we have a super chat. Mr. Overton says, I bought 30 G17 mags, which should be 17 rounds. Yeah, absolutely. Because a 15-round magazine won't fit in a 17, as far as I know. But they are 15 rounds, darn it. Read all the packaging in these weird times. So that's very strange. Yeah, so Mr. Overton, he sent a picture here, ordered a batch of magazines, expecting them to be, expecting them to be all 17s, but he got 15s mixed in. Man, that's disappointing. Mr. Tyler James, $10 super chat. Must be nice to get a $10 super chat. Mr. James has been with us for 2 months, a supporting member who writes, I'd really like to see your reaction to Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean. I blast it through my speakers when it comes on. Well, he really likes it. It sounds country, man. You're not going to like. Why are you asking to disappoint? Do you just want me to bring more? Are you trying to keep coals of fire upon my head? I don't think I could do another video reaction in the same week. I'm not going to like it. I'm going in biased already. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the good counsel of the middlemen. You guys give me a little email or a little message whether or not that would be worth our time to go in to do, and if that's a hill that we want to die on. If it's country music, man, I'm not going to be happy about that. And I'm going to roast it hard just for being what it is. Country music, modern country music, is the East Coast man of the creative world. $25 super chat from Mr. Richard Roca. Shout out to you, Mr. Roca. Goodness, it's very generous of you. Love your channel, what you do, and respect the way you think. Spot on, brother. I appreciate that. You see, I have some fellow travelers in the group. Just because 50% of the people hated on me for my music review doesn't mean that I'm wrong. And I've yet to have anyone give me a compelling reason as to why anything that I said was not correct. Did it hurt your feelings? Perhaps, but we're not about feelings here, are we? There's too much feeling. You're too feminine. Many of you are too feminine. You think like women. You get up in your emotions and you think like women, and you're not using your judgment, and you're not using the God-given logical brain that you have. I get it. I get it. I understand. I understand. I know it's rich coming from a West Coast man. I know. But we're trying to break away from that, gentlemen. We're trying to hold one another accountable. Iron is trying to sharpen iron here. There's not one better than the other. We're coming to new revelations. The world is changing. God is making truth known to us. Those of us that are willing to listen. We are watchmen on the wall. We're telling you danger is coming. We're telling you what you need to do to get straight. And listening to a minstrel on the city wall complaining about an army might come someday is not helpful. It's already here, gentlemen. It's been here for some time. Mr. Mike Scott, it may have just saved me lots of grief and consternation. Member for 1 year. And a super chatter. He says, don't waste your time with Try That in a Small Town. It's modern and country song. I knew it was. I know. It's a modern country twanger. There's probably a cowboy boot. It's going to be country folk versus the liberal city folk, and don't try that around here, or we're going to put a boot in your ass. Oh, poor Moses. I can sympathize with him. The poor man trying to tell God's truth amongst the sea coming out of Egypt, the sea of East Coast people. C. Smith, $5 super chat. Preach it. I'm so sick of people blaming everyone else for their lack of self-motivation or self-worth. Yes, it's very feminine. You see, a woman's, not all, but a majority of too many women, their kryptonite is accountability. They can't take accountability for anything. It's always someone else's fault. You know, there they are, 41 years old, 45 years old, complaining, oh, where do all the good men go? You know, all men are trash, etc., etc. While they had 20 years 20 years to lock down a good man. How many good men did they friend zone while they were chasing Chad? So they chose bad. They chose bad, and they chose all these bad guys, these players, these criminals, these hooligans, these Chads, Tyrones, Pookies, and Ray Rays. And they chose them, and they couldn't get them to commit, and now it's all our fault. Every man is a Pookie, a Ray Ray, a Chad, or a Tyrone. Where how many dudes in the 20, 25 years of dating would have gladly been a good provider, a good husband, a loyal companion, but he wasn't 6 foot tall. He wasn't exciting. He wasn't a drug dealer. He wasn't a rapper. I have no sympathy, beloved. I have no my sympathy. It's very much dried out. But that's the feminine thinking. Oh, it's the politician's fault. Oh, it's the Epstein. Oh, it's the rich man. I mean, yes, it's all true. It's all true. So how long do we complain about it? How long do we keep trying to affect change in a system that doesn't allow change? Give it up. Let it go. Let it die. And let's pick up a mantle and figure out something else that works. I don't know what it is, but I do know that I can affect some change, and life in my community is good. And when I look around, everything is growing just like it always has. The promises of God are still here just like they've always been. And when you stop listening to all of the mind control, and all of the fear tactics, then maybe we can actually get ahead and get somewhere and have a life that's rich and worth living. The big kahuna, the alpha daddy, the Georgia Crazy Cajun, is dropping some knowledge here, or dropping a contribution, this time to the Royal Academy's Glock Magazine Identification Department Scholarship Fund. Yes, there you have it. Well, no one's expecting when you order 17-round magazines for 15s to come in. That's very unsatisfactory, very unsatisfactory, especially when you are a G19X fan, because those dogs are not going to hunt at all in that magazine. Well, we have a super chat from Diakonos 777. Shout out to you, brother. I keep hearing that, and my heart longs for the traditional word of God. I don't want mega churches with drum sets. I don't want mega churches with coffee bars. I don't want pastors on the pulpit with cargo shorts on and a polo shirt on and a weird haircut so he can relate to the kids. It's ridiculous. But when I look at the Orthodox, I see Catholicism. I see the icons. I see the robes. I see the pomps. I see all of the posturing. I see the relics. You know, I can't get with that. I can't get with that. That's It's too Catholic. Nothing against our Catholic friends. I always say I have some very good friends that are devout Catholic. There's some wonderful people and have been for centuries in the Catholic Church. But the system is corrupt. The system is corrupt. There should be no intermediary between you and God. No priest. And the Bible tells us, call no man father. And what do you guys call yourself? You know, I can't get with it. You know, as much as I respect the dedication, the knowledge, the sacrifice, the holding of traditions, of all people, I respect these things. But it's just too Catholic. It's too Catholic. But I would go see. I don't, you know, I don't know. I know very little about it. I may be, Father, forgive me if I'm a heretic. I may be probably talking about things that I don't understand. I'm looking at it from someone on the outside. Someone that has a very keen sense that picks up very rapidly on Catholicism. I would go see. If I was invited by a devout man of God to come and see for myself, to hear, to touch, feel, to see with my own eyes, to see the fruit, then maybe my opinion will change on that. But I can only form the opinion that I have comparing it with the scripture that I know, and there's a lot of relics. There's a lot of Catholicism in there. Mr. Mike McKay, $1 super chat. Thank you, brother. Tyler James, $5 super chat. Thank you, brother. Mr. Overton. Mr. Overton has a request here. He wants you all to put sevens in the chat if you'd like to hear me review a country song that I've never heard of called Bo Burnham. Burnham. I don't know what that is. It's a country song, so I'm automatically gonna, I hate it already. I hate it. There you go. This is interactive here. You have an opportunity to put sevens or zeros if you say no. If you are like-minded in regards to country music, then I would encourage you to put zeros, not sevens. But we will see. Let the people speak. Well, Josh C wants to know, so what music does Proho listen to? How about this? I will read you the top 10 artists off of my go-to playlist right now. And that's all I'm going to do. Will that suffice? The top 10, these would be my top favorite currently. I'm going to go to my Spotify here. I'm going to pull up the list I made yesterday. Okay. Here we go. Number 1 is Flume Go. Number 2, Baby Keem, Trademark USA. Number 3, The Beach Boys, Pet Sounds. Number 3, Drake and Gucci Mane, a duet. Both. The Weeknd, Gasoline. Natalie Holt, Lockie Green Theme. Adele, Hold On. ASAP Rocky, Lost and Found Freestyle 2019. And Scavenger Type by NOFX. I don't know if that was 10, but those were the ones that I could pronounce in my playlist. Take that for what it's worth. No, it doesn't. It doesn't move you any further ahead, and it doesn't encourage people either. It encourages them what? To join in on the complaining. Yeah. Can't, never could. Can't, never could. Excuses. My dad could not abide excuses. That was something, that was one of the greatest things, the two greatest things that my dad ever did for my I don't want to put these glasses on. It might make me look make me look too weird. Sometimes I think these glasses make me look too weird, and people don't like weird people. Two things that my dad left with me that were of inestimable value was always telling my sister and I, figure it out. There was never a can't do anything. It didn't matter if you'd never done it before. You go figure it out. Figure it out. Figure it out. I should have, if I had a tattoo, that's what it'd be. I'd have it like right across here. Figure it out. Right across my chest. Figure it out. And that mindset really has served us well. Oh, you can't weld? Well, go figure it out. Oh, you can't do carpentry work? You can't do crown molding? Oh, yeah? Go figure it out. You figure it out. You've got the internet. The other thing was he could not abide excuses. The moment we started in with any sort of an excuse for why we couldn't do anything, he put the sledgehammer on that. That was not acceptable in the home. No excuses, no blaming other people. Figure it out. The two complement one another. So understand, when I roasted this song yesterday, this is my background. This is where I'm coming from. And that was just throwing up red flags of whining and whinging and blaming other people for your problems. The very thing that my dad drilled into me to never do. So I can't get with that. I wasn't raised that way. This artist is from a different generation. You know, I had the benefit of being raised by someone that was from the greatest generation and a boomer, but a hardworking boomer, not an entitled boomer. We have a super chat from Hosier Zoomer. Hosier Zoomer and new member. Review Erica. What is this Erica? I don't know Erica. Is this a movie or is this a song? It doesn't sound like a country song. No country singer would well, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Mr. Andrew Hoshino. Shout out to you, Andrew. We have a super chat from Andrew. Andrew says, I've realized as a 21-year-old man that all I want is a piece of land to raise a family and build as an individual man to better myself. Really. That's where it comes to. That's what it comes down to. That's what it comes down to. If you read, I've been rereading John Bunyan's book, The Pilgrim's Progress. Mandatory reading. Mandatory reading for Proho. The Pilgrim's Progress. This should be in your library. Hard copy. Get one. Read it to your family. Suitable for the whole family. But you've heard the term Vanity Fair. Vanity Fair, that term comes from that book, from John Bunyan's book. And Vanity Fair is an allegory of all of the enticements of the world. Restaurants, luxury items, music, sports, entertainment, and how attractive this is, and how it can be a distraction to the pilgrim as he's trying to march to the promised land. And that book, he describes it very well of when the Christians enter into this and are trying to wade through this, and the enticements of what it really means and how it gets you off of your grind and it gets your attention off of things that are really important, which is just what Andrew's talking about. I don't need a Bugatti. I just need a piece of land with a paid-for home that no one could ever take from me, where I can raise my children and have a tradcon in peace. That's really what most men want. Nothing more than that. We'd be satisfied with that. And sad thing is the power that be, they don't understand that. They see us as a threat. Yeah, there's going to be dudes that want to come up in power and take control, and they want to be a dictator. They want to be a Joseph Stalin, Pol Pot type of character. But that's not the normal dude. And that if they just left dudes well enough alone to do their own thing, yes, we understand we need to pay taxes. We understand there are going to be expenses. There are things we don't even mind even paying into the indigent or supporting People that have come on hard times. Most of us will do it willfully, willingly. But the problem is that when they take that power out of our hands and they tax us to oblivion, and then they tell us that we're the problem, well, that's when we no longer want to play that game. We no longer want to participate. And that's what I'm trying to wake you guys up to. Don't work in that system. It's broken. It's gone. A new system is coming. I don't know what God has in plan for us, but it's not going to be a system that coddles you. And you're going to sink or swim. The safety nets that you've enjoyed in the past are going to evaporate. They're evaporating now. You need to hear the truth. You need to harden yourself. You harden your mind, harden your body, circle the wagons, get flexible, get mobile, get a hard trade, get a hard skill that you can use, and get out of your emotions. Remember, we have a message from our friend. Excuse me, I'm suffering here. I'm reaching the end of my talking threshold. And the sun's starting to encroach upon me, which is making me very sad because it's super hot. The Battle Chemist. Welcome, brother. As always, bringing the truth to the people, kicking and screaming, keep up the good work, and never bend your principles, as I know you won't. Yes, that's important, you know. And again, Mrs. W disagreed with my take on that music review I did. She thought that I'd missed the point. She thought that I'd missed the reason why that resonated with them so much. And she could be right. There's 50-50 chance, you know, she could be right and I could be wrong about that. But again, you take counsel from people. I made this mistake with the whole Rolling Stone thing. I had fear porn coming in from places that was unbelievable. Doom and gloom. This is going to happen. You're going to go to jail. It scared me. I didn't, we talked about this. It scared me. I overreacted. I privated all that stuff, shut everything down. I realize now that's exactly what they wanted. It was all a scare tactic. It was all much ado about nothing. Because when I thought about it, when Overton and I talked, is there anything that you don't stand behind? Is there anything that you feel to be untrue that you said? And I had to think long and hard about that. And the answer was no. No. And so that's why I put all of the live chats. So I made them public again. Same thing with this interview. I appreciate Mrs. W's counsel. She is my number one most trusted counselor next to the Holy Spirit. I appreciate that. But it is also a person's opinion. And I consider it, and I will consider it for the next reaction. But if I were to, if she were to have her way, and I would just say, okay, whatever you think, I would take that video down because people are offended. It hurts people's feelings. Half the people dislike that video. Well, I'm not taking that down. I said what I said because I believed in everything that I said about it. That's the way I felt. And I don't care if it offends the artist. He's a person that's viewed the videos. He's been liked the channel. I appreciate that. I don't have anything against him whatsoever. I don't think less of him. But I do need to point out the fact that this blaming other people is a problem. This lack of accountability is a problem. And that's truth. What I said is truth. If you like it or not, it's truth. The video remains. And I have not heard anyone say anything to get me to consider else, and we're reaching the end here. You had every opportunity. It's 5 o'clock, isn't it? Yeah, we started at 2:30. This would be a 3-hour live stream. I'm doing math on camera. This is very dangerous. 2:30. See, I have to count on my fingers. Of course, it's 3 hours. Thank you, Battle Chemist. Mr. Roman Carlisle. We have a super chat. Roman writes, very good name, Roman. I like that name. I find that name to be very masculine. I understand the disdain for what country music is today. The oldies, though, Cash, Haggard, Jackson, Williams, etc., always loved. Me too. I was raised on that music. My grandmother was a musician. She loved the classic country music. Gail Davies, Dolly Parton, the Possum, George Jones, Waylon, Willie, Hank Williams Jr., Hank Williams Sr., goodness, Hank Snow. All these songs I know by heart. It was funny. I started playing, when on Music on Demand started becoming a thing. I started playing these old songs for Mrs. W and for Jack when he was little. And she was amazed, like, how do you know the words to every single song? I said, I was raised with this. Every hunting trip, my grandmother used to make we had the 8-track tapes before that. And then when cassettes came in, she used to make them. She had reams of them where she would take her old records and she would transfer them to tape so that we could have them in the car and we would listen to them deer hunting and listen to them elk hunting. And my granddad would yodel. It was amazing. That music is fabulous. It's whiny too. I didn't see it at the time. Someone pointed out when I said, oh, I like that old country music. I said, well, that's as beta as can get. It's true. It is true. It's the worst. But my hypocrisy has no limits, beloved. I don't know what else to say. We have another super chat from our friend Hoosier Zoomer. Thank you, brother. Who writes, Erica is a German folk song. As soon as you said that, I know that song. I know that song. It's on the tip of my brain. Yeah, that is. There's more to this. I need to look into this. I need to refresh my memory on what that is about. Okay. All right. I'm going to sign off. I'm done talking. May God bless you and your families. Please keep us in your prayers. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all of you who supported. May God bless your families. Keep us in your prayers. We'll see you all, Lord willing, on tomorrow's video.